We talk about how Taylor's mom treats her so horribly when she talks to her. Yes, we can talk about that. Let's talk about how all of the moms of these women are super mean to them. And that being said, the moms are horrific, and you can see where the narcissistic kind of tendencies that we see in a lot of these girls come from. Then we see them interact with their mothers, and their mothers are so harsh and mean to them.
Once again, just as a general disclaimer, I'm going to ask you guys to give me a little bit of grace because I want to talk about my mindset as a Mormon. I am no longer Mormon. This no longer applies to me, but I was a monster. Mormon doctrine teaches that families are eternal. That means husband and wife sealed together will be gods and goddesses in the celestial kingdom, and all of their children who are born to them will also live with them in the celestial kingdom if you do everything right, have your temple sealings, are righteous, and deserve to be there. So for Mormon parents, parenting doesn't stop when your kids are adults and they're out on their own. Parenting stops when they are worthy and righteous, and I guess when you're all dead and living in the celestial kingdom with Heavenly Father. But I feel like most non-Mormons watching The Secret Lives are missing. This foundationally is behind everything that you're seeing. So when Taylor tells her mom that she's pregnant and her mom is furious and storms off, that's because even though Taylor's 29 years old, the mom is still responsible for making sure that her daughter ends up in the celestial kingdom. So it's not even necessarily that she as a mom should have any business in a 29-year-old daughter's life, or that Taylor's doing something dangerous, something that's illegal, something that's going to have negative consequences. She's just literally thinking Taylor's going to burn in Mormon hell forever for having a baby out of wedlock. So it's my job to put my foot down. I raised 5 children in the Mormon church. I took very seriously my responsibility of making sure that their souls were saved, that they were righteous and could go to the celestial kingdom with our eternal family. My son, when he was about 14 years old, fell in love with a girl who was not Mormon. We were living in South Carolina. They started dating. He wasn't even supposed to be dating yet. One day, this adorable, sweet, very kind little girl who wasn't Mormon comes over after school to hang out with my son. I take her for a walk around the street and tell her, you are never allowed to see my son again. I called the school, made sure that they couldn't sit next to each other at recess, destroyed their lives. It was absolutely heartbreaking. It was so devastating. Tough stuff. My son was 4 years away from remission. The last thing that I wanted was some little heathen tempting him and keeping him from fulfilling his priesthood duty. When he mentally unraveled after this little forced breakup with the love of his life, I chalked it up to Satan. Satan's tempting him. I didn't care as a Mormon mom as much about my kids being happy as I did about them being good. Worthy was a big obsession. That's why Ruby Frankie'd her kids, because she was more concerned about their eternal souls and their exaltation than she was about whether or not they had enough food to eat and were safe. It's why so many children who grow up in the Mormon church are so deeply traumatized by parents who think that they're just being good Mormon. The day I left the Mormon church 5.5 years ago, my mom decided to have some tough love against me. She literally told me one day that because I was wearing a tank top very similar to this, that my daughters were going to grow up to be whores because of my example. A tank top, guys. Have you ever seen me wear anything that's even like remotely inappropriate? Because of what I do on TikTok, my Mormon mom has chosen not to be part of my life or my children's lives for 5.5 years. Kevin and I had a Zoom commitment ceremony during the pandemic. All she had to do was click open her computer and be there. And she refused to. When I was going through my whole like homeless domestic violence escapee, my mom told me that was because I had broken my temple covenants and taken off my garments, and she was not there to help me or the kids or anybody in any way, shape, or form. When my first grandbaby was born 3 years ago, my mom reached out to me to let me know how deeply disappointed she was that this generation of children was being born without the gospel because of me, and how heartbroken she was that her grandbaby wasn't going to be blessed as a member of the Mormon church. He was cursed because of me. During the pandemic, if you guys were here for that, when I almost died and was hospitalized for months because of a 10-inch deep vein thrombosis and near heart failure, and Kevin reached out to my mom just to let her know what was going on, she said that she would rather not have updates. One of my children has currently been hospitalized for the past week. And do you think that he has grandma reaching out to see how he is? No, she's ghosted him. All of it. She doesn't exist. Here's a letter that my mom wrote me a year ago, put in the mail, put a stamp on it, sent it to my house. And I want to point out that my mom disowned me long before TikTok was a thing, long before I spoke up about the church, just because I left the church and took her grandbabies with me, thereby disrupting her eternal family. My favorite part of this is, sorry you had such a disturbing childhood. In hindsight, you must have been a disturbed child. Have a nice life, Mom. Mormon moms, unfortunately, are put in the position of flying monkeys like you would see in many toxic family relationships, where they are triangulating against their children for the church. Taylor's mom can't be happy for her having a baby. Taylor's mom can't be happy that Dakota is trying to show up because the church makes her act as a flying monkey to tell her what a piece of garbage she is for breaking the church's rules. By the way, in case my mom is creeping on my TikTok, listen up. I call you my ex more often than I call Jason my ex. You were nothing more than a petri dish that I developed in, and I outgrew you probably by the time I was a week old. So go back and watch Secret Lives, everybody, and just kind of pay attention to this. This is the dynamic going on behind everything. And it gets really confusing too, because just like in any other toxic narcissistic family system, where there is a lot of love bombing, where there is a lot of pulling people in, and then the discard, the Darvo, the gaslighting, and the triangulation and the flying monkeys coming at you. My mom would bake me my favorite pie for my birthday and then tell me that my mini skirt made me look like a slut. And that is why I will be in therapy for the rest of my life.